everyone, and welcome to Lesbian Talk episode
87.
I will take her word for it.
Episode 87.
And you need to talk louder.
Oh.
No. Talking louder than usual, guys, because you can... At some point you'll hear it through the episode. Basically, one of the guys who lives in the house is destroying the place because...
Like, for a real reason, not just because he was angry. Like,
yeah, so, you know...
One of the rooms is under renovation, and so various members of the household have been taking turns pulling the ceiling down, so something can happen. I'm not... There's some kind of technical lasers.
There's 3 stories to the house, but it's right in the middle one, and there's literally nowhere in the house where we can be to record this that does not get the noise, so you'll hear some rumbling, and just imagine it's us being hit with rocks or something.
Why would people be throwing rocks at us?
They listen to our show.
Boo, down with Hagan, boo.
Yep. So we've, it's been a while since the last one, but, you know, that's mainly because...
Everything is gonna get normal again, eventually.
Because Omega works, like, all the time. I'm constantly doing video stuff. Omega usually edits the stuff, her computer, she's still not got an editing thing for Lesbian Talk back again. And...
That's gonna be changing, though. I have the new rig set up, so I have things to download and things to do, and etc., etc.
Yeah, so...
So the intro might change, but just a wee bit.
Yeah. So we're trying, you know, I suppose what I could do is I could, you know, grab someone else to be like an honorary Omega, like grab my nephew or something and be like, you're Omega now, but that might get weird.
Don't replace me. Don't replace me, bro.
Or I could do an episode where it's like I'm talking to you, but then I replace you just with the sounds of a cat.
No, that would be really obnoxious for everyone.
That would be hilarious.
No, that's not how we're doing this.
But this time, we are going to discuss, because I mentioned this on Twitter, and people were all like, ooh, well, some people were like, ooh, I'm interested to hear how this works out, so we're going to discuss a couple of things, one of which is how to turn Dragon Age Origins into a TV show. Also going to discuss my views on the War Doctor, because this is going to turn up in a 20 Who review, but I thought I'd give you a little prelude to it. What else are we going to discuss?
It's summer!
Oh yes, we're starting off with
Ooh, yeah.
Omega's observations of Northern Irish summer.
Actually, I do like the weather here a lot better because, okay, so today it's going to be, quote, a wee bit hot, according to a customer of mine who, you know, at the shop who was like, oh, I heard it's going to be a wee bit hot tomorrow. It's like 62 degrees. Like, literally the hottest it's gotten over here was like 67 one day. Everyone was like, oh, it's a heat wave. Sure it is. Like, it drops to about the mid-40s at night, like low 50s on a cold day. And it does this thing where if you are standing between buildings in the shadow, if the wind is blowing, it's cold. Mm-hmm. And then if you walk like half a block up to where the sun is shining, it's literally a 10 to 15 degree difference.
Yeah, that's very, very accurate.
But there's no humidity. I love it. I love that if every summer of my life was like this.
All of your heat comes pretty much from the direct beams of sunlight. And I told you about this, and you...
I didn't believe you, quite honestly.
Yeah,
I assumed you were just, you know...
It's a weird quirk of our area. But you get this in England as well. But, how do you feel about the light?
That's another problem. Okay, so I have an app. I have a weather app. Actually, it's the Wonderground app, if you would like a really great weather app on your phone. Buy Weather Underground. And I'm just letting it boot up now. Okay, so today, the sun rose at 4:49 a.m., and it will set at 10:11 p.m. But the thing is, that's the actual time that's measured as the sun disappearing or appearing over the horizon. There's also civil dawn and civil twilight, which means that, you know, like how it's like the sky is kind of bluish for about like an hour surrounding that time? Yeah. So it could be like 11:30, maybe coming up on midnight, and I'm like, oh, better go downstairs and brush my teeth before I go to bed. And there's still like the blue light of dawn or dusk out the window. It's very disconcerting.
Yeah.
It's Cthulhian and I don't like it. I have one of those masks. I sleep with a slumber mask now. Like those ones they give you at the airport. Like, you know how, you know, in 80s and 90s movies, like, you know, you always knew, like, the I need my beauty rest kind of prissy, hard-to-handle drama woman who always had to sleep with a mask on. That's what I have to do now. Because, like, the sun comes up at, like, 2 in the morning. Okay.
Like at half 4. More like 3:30.
But,
I usually go to bed just as sun is rising because I'm like that. And, you can tell how used to this I am, that I sleep not only without a mask, but with my curtains open.
It's horrible. I don't understand how that happens.
Of course, that might be why I'm so exhausted all the time.
I have thick blackout curtains, and that's just not even good enough. I don't know where my mask went. I woke up this morning, and I think it like came off in the night and it fell down. So I have to get a new one because it's all stretched out.
Oh dear.
Yeah, well, they're cheap. I can all find myself. But yeah, so it's summer, and summer means tourist cruise ships come into town. And oh god, it was so awkward yesterday because I was putting books away. And these two little old ladies come in. They're like, wow, look at this place. It's really like a library. It's oh, yes. And I could hear their broad, flat Midwestern accents.
It's a bookshop.
I guess I'd never been in Barnes & Noble before.
What the fuck?
I guess they thought that maybe we didn't have shopping centers or actual, like, real shops here.
Fucking hell.
Maybe they thought it was all sheep trading. I
did
don't know.
come across an American whenever I was probably about 15 years ago. I was on a chat room, and an American, found out it was from Ireland, and they asked if we had TV. I was like, yes, we don't have TV, but I'm talking to you on the fucking internet.
Pretty much. So, like, I looked over and I said, oh, hey, how you doing? If you need any help, just let me know. Because one of the things that I'm responsible for in my job is greeting customers when they come in my section.
Talking to Americans.
Right, and, like, I have a pretty noticeable, at least over here, a pretty noticeable American accent. Amongst Americans, I have a pretty noticeable Philadelphia accent. Especially when I'm not paying attention.
To non-Americans, it just sounds like New York.
Shut up, Philly is awesome. And so they're like, oh, wow, here's where we're from. And they handed me a little teeny wee lapel pin that was a cowboy hat and said Gillette, Wisconsin. That's where we're from, Wyoming. That's where we're from, and you can keep that. And I said, you might as well give it to a native. I'm from Philadelphia. And they just kind of looked at me, and I'm like, oh, I had to make it awkward, didn't I? Should have been like, oh, well, thanks, sure, it'll be grand, and go away. But they're like, oh, why are you here? Like, I'm in my uniform because it's not like any other place that you'd work. I guess I could say I worked at Barnes & Noble. I don't work there anymore.
Yeah,
it was always a big secret. But
if you want to, yeah.
Yeah, but like I have I have a polo shirt with the company's name and our website address on the back. And I was like, oh, I'm here for university. And like, oh, what are you studying? And I was like, psychology. They're like,
I'd be Irish.
And then they went away, and I was like, that was so awkward. And then I got called to the till, and I was glad. And I was like, ugh. But we get Germans. We had a whole bunch of Chinese folks in a while back.
I remember
that was a little bit difficult.
I tend to avoid any mad groups of tourists. I don't often see them. Mm-hmm. But closest thing was, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this story at some point before, but I will mention it again. I was down in a supermarket, and there was just happened to be this naval festival going on, and I was wandering around wearing one of my... I have several coats which look like, sea naval type things, and people thought I was part of the pirate exhibition. It's like, no, I was just wearing a pirate coat.
I like my pirate coat. But the Japanese, or the Chinese people were great, because there was this elderly couple, and they came up, and they were looking for a book. They spoke little to no English. They said, oh, Peter too. And I'm like, Peter too? I'm like, let's look it up on the computer. So I run away and I look it up. And we basically have to look books up on our distributor's website, which is really difficult, so I just Google it. I mean, that's just the easiest thing. And I Google Peter too, and I'm coming up with all these biblical quotes from 2 Peter. And I'm like, I just don't understand. Like, did the person that wrote it, was they called Peter? And which they keep saying, oh, Peter too, and, putting up 2 fingers. And then so they went away, and they came back a minute later with, I guess, their adult daughter, who spoke a little bit more English. Oh, yes, Peter Rabbit. Peter too. And I realized that two, I guess, must be like bunny or rabbit in whatever.
Oh, but the two, rabbit ears.
Yeah, they like a rabbit. And we did have some Peter Rabbit books, but I was like, here you go. Oh, thank you. And then they went away. And I was like, well, sometimes it's the Germans, and the Germans are nice because they mostly speak English.
Yeah.
And we had
The Cork and Creature, they speak very good English.
Well, yeah, but they're not elderly people on a cruise that we know
They
of.
might be.
Well, no, because 2 days ago it was one from England, and they were all little old English people.
They speak English too,
yes.
sometimes.
But so there's one couple, they are buying some books and, some stamps to send postcards back. And the woman said, I gave them change, and I gave them a 5, and it's a Northern Irish 5. And the UK has this thing where English notes are legal everywhere.
Yeah,
but Scottish
they're
Northern
legal. They're
Irish
legal
notes,
tender.
Scottish Northern Irish notes a lot of places in England will not accept them.
Yeah, because Northern Irish and Scottish unions, legally, you are able to spend it everywhere. However, it is not technically legal tender. It's one of these sort of legal weirdnesses we have. And you have, Northern Irish has about three, I think, types of money.
Yeah.
Because
There's Bank of Ireland, Ulster Bank,
and Danske.
and Danske.
Because, like America used to do years and years ago, the Northern Ireland, Scotland, and the Channel Islands and all, and Isle of Man have got print their own money. The bank,
They're colorful and nice and pretty. The Scottish notes are great.
yeah,
They're like all real colorful.
yeah. The commercial banks print their own notes. It's not, there's no central bank of these countries. So Northern Irish money, you get the bank. It's literally printed by banks people use.
Yeah.
So we have like. Overall, in the UK, you can legally spend about 12 different types of pound.
It's really crazy.
However, outside of the country part that it's from, it's very hard to get someone who will do it because they tend just to, you're not supposed to be able to refuse it, but they do.
They do. But so one of the notes I'd given them for change was I think it was an Ulster Bank 5. And they're like, oh, will we be able to take this home? Except in an English accent, imagine that. And I said, well, if you want, there's a bureau de change downstairs. You can just... And then the husband looked at me and he goes, we already climbed a mountain to get up here. They didn't tell us this city was made of hills. And then there was a little old...
It's not as bad as Swansea.
True. Then there was a little old English lady who didn't know if she needed to buy... she wanted to buy... We sell first class, second class, and Euro stamps in little books of 6 and 12. And so she wanted... First she only wanted second class, then she wanted first class. So the Carol got her first class. She goes, well, these look just like the stamps we have back at home. And...
That was me face bombing.
And there's a guy that I work with who he's a radical unionist, and so he would have been like, "Because you're in the UK now." And so what ended up happening was that they were going down to Letterkenny tonight and staying at a hotel, and she wanted to send the postcards from the hotel in Letterkenny, but because that's in the Republic, she wasn't sure if she needed because she was sending them to England. She wasn't sure if she needed first class UK stamps, Royal Mail stamps, or Euro stamps.
I think either would have been fine, but safer with the Euro, just in case.
Yeah, that's what, because Laura was the supervisor, and she's from Glasgow, so which is a whole international thing going on.
Northern Ireland it's like a weird no man's land between the UK and Ireland. It's both, it's neither, it's...
Yeah, like we can accept...
weird.
We can accept Euro. I press a little button on the...
Especially the border parts around. Like Belfast don't accept Euros, but Derry, Euros everywhere. Cause...
I think we might actually... I think my shop might in Belfast. I'd have to check on that.
Okay.
But yeah, we just press a button on the till, it converts it over to whatever the current Euro rate is. And actually, it's not even the current Euro rate, it's what we're offering. So sometimes what we're offering is a few pence better than what the actual rate is.
Yeah, this is a side effect of being in a city which is literally a couple of miles from a border that is not really a border but a semi-permeable membrane, because you don't even need passports or anything to get across, and a city which is mostly populated by people who believe they're in the other country. So...
It's confusing. It really is, but oh, you know what? Another thing is that I'm getting a lot more hours at work. Like I'm working between like 34 and 40 hours a week now, which is really nice. Most of it's because every week someone different's on holiday.
And you're all like, I'm not going on holiday because I'm going to Con Bravo.
Well, that is my holiday. Because everyone's like, oh, when's your holiday? I'm like, oh, I'm taking a week in July to go to Con Bravo, to go to Canada. Then I'm taking a week in early September to go to Alcon in England. And then...
Yeah, if you're going to Leicester, come and see us at Alcon.
Oh, yeah.
Welshie and Filmbrain are going too, apparently.
So yeah, go see Welshie and Filmbrain and wave at us. But
yeah.
No, and then allegedly, okay, I have approved the time off for the days around Christmas to go back to America, but that's still up in the air what exact days those are going to be.
Yeah.
Or, you know... Well,
definitely not MagFest, because they...
That I just cannot in February.
They keep moving it to places, make it even harder for us to go. And I refuse to go by myself, so...
Yeah, plus it's so expensive to fly transatlantically, and...
It is cheaper to go to Con Bravo, yeah.
But so...
Even in the summer. Jesus Christ.
Oh. But then, so, I was talking to some of my coworkers at work. And apparently, there's a thing. Like, in America, you know, like, oh, where are you going for vacation? Oh, well, you know, we're going down the shore, we're, you know, going to go to the Outer Banks, or we're going to go to the Gulf, or we're going to go to the Rocky Mountains, or, you know, we're going to go to a place that you'd want to go to do things you'd want to do, like look at the ocean and gamble and get drunk and shit. Well, apparently here, if you're not gonna go to another country, like it's real popular to go down Portugal, or like everyone goes to Malta, which is a small island, God knows where, the Mediterranean.
That's on the far. It's nearish to Greece and Turkey.
Yeah, something like that. Like if you don't do that, you rent a trailer and sit in a field.
Yeah.
And that's like a holiday. Like, oh yeah, it's just we're gonna go out to the caravan with my family. I'm like, what's the caravan? They're like, oh, and they basically describe a trailer. And I'm like, so you're going to sit in a trailer in a field? No, but see, my one coworker, she's trying to tell me this is awesome. She's like, no, but it's a campground with all the other caravans. I'm like, honey, that's a trailer park. You're going on vacation to the trailer park.
Yeah, but it'll be in a little touristy town full of little random Irish stuff they can do.
Oh dear, have you tried the local meth? Oh, sure, it's great. No, I mean, I can't divorce these two images in my mind that, like...
Well, I've never been in an American trailer park, and I've never been in one of those campgrounds or caravan things, so I can't tell you how different they are, but I imagine there's some sort of difference.
If you're listening from the trailer park, write the show. But... I mean, and I again, if you're from Ireland or the UK and you do this, please comment in the comments, because
you could ask the Avatar Decent Humor. Her family has one.
But her family has one at an actual, like, at the beach.
Well, so it's really on the beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like that's different. So, but
it's basically a cheap holiday home. It's a trailer park of holiday homes.
It just sounds.
It's like redneck richness.
Because then we were talking about it down in the canteen, and Johnny was saying, oh well, yeah. So the Garda, they don't. How do you say that? The Garda.
You can say guard. You can say guard. You can say Garda.
Oh, well, the Garda don't really take it seriously. Like there's maybe in a caravan town like one or two policemen.
The Garda are the Irish police.
And basically, like, any liquor that you want to get, you just take down and no one asks questions and everyone does an incredible amount of drugs. I'm like, so it is like a trailer park. And he's like, well, I don't think everyone's grannies are out there doing coke. I'm like, oh, yes, they are. Oh, dear, I just think I'll do a little bit of knitting. You come home and Grandma has covered everything in crochet. But that's what the Irish do. And I'm chomping at the bit because I spent my formative years in Philly. And what did you do in Philly on the weekend? You went down the Jersey Shore. Get saltwater taffy, get some fudge. And yes, they do pack their own fudge right there on the boardwalk.
Yeah. And we have a boardwalk about 20 minutes, well, about half an hour's drive away. But, I'm trying to convince people to go because Robin's not here and, he has a car. So we're sort of reliant on other people with cars. And everyone who I know who has a car is like, why do you want to go to Port Rush? It's shit. And I'm like, yeah, it's shit, but it's like a crappy Northern Irish version of like Atlantic City or something.
We drove through Port Rush. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, but you didn't get all the amusements they closed down by that point.
Well, one of my coworkers is taking her kids to Blackpool.
Oh, Blackpool's good.
Yeah, and she was explaining that to me. I'm like, that sounds like an actual thing that's fun in life.
It's got a replica of the Eiffel Tower in there.
Yeah.
And they have some really good roller coasters and stuff.
Maybe we should go sometime.
They have a dark ride, like a water-based dark ride called I think it's called Valhalla or Ragnarok.
You showed me the YouTube ride.
It's like, holy fuck, that thing costs millions to run. This is like the most expensive one of those types of rides. And you're in like a Viking longship going through like storms and shit. It's like, I want to go on that. But you're all like, no, I get wet. It's wrong.
I don't like being wet. If it was Florida, if it was like North Carolina, or California, if it was a warm place, or even, Pennsylvania in the summer, I wouldn't care because you dry so quickly. But this is the UK. It's always wet. It is always about to rain. It is always gross. Mold grows everywhere. I don't.
A very damp climate.
Yes. So, if we did go anywhere like in Europe, I want to go to Amsterdam. I think that would be a great long weekend. During the day, I'll take you to all the lovely museums, and we can sit in cafes drinking coffee and eating Danishes. And then at night, we'll go to the coffee house and get high. It'll be great.
Yeah, there's a lot of museums I'd like to see in Amsterdam. But should we skip on to Dragon Age?
We should. Although if we do that, we should try to convince Owen Citizen to come with us. I don't know how we're going to manage this. But like, oh, you need to show us around Amsterdam because you speak the language and everything.
That would be useful, but he's kind of in America most of the time.
Yeah, it's true.
Now, Dragon Age as a TV show. This is just Dragon Age Origins, and
And I'm real fresh to this because I just downloaded it. I finally got Steam I had Steam, but I can finally use it now. And Origins, the Ultimate Edition, was £5 during the summer sale. So I became one of the PC Master Race. PC Master Race.
Now, there's one thing about me. I, as a sort of mental exercise, like to work out how I would handle things if I was given control of them, like Doctor Who, Star Trek, Transformers, a couple of other things. It's just a mental exercise, it was
so, like,
narrative.
other kids, what would happen if, like, the president came by and gave me, like, super spy powers and abilities? You're like, what would happen if the BBC gave me control of Doctor Who?
Yeah. It's I like having a creative sort of mind, so I sort of it's a little.
Other people fantasize about sex and power. You fantasize about casting.
Alexander Siddig or Ramon Tikaram or Keithley Castle would be amazing as the Doctor. But we're Dragon Age Origins as a TV show. I'm seeing this as Omega is gonna, I'm sure, have differing opinions, so she will interject and sort of, be all like, I object to this on occasion, but she can do that whenever she likes, but I will just talk.
Regardless of her.
No, I will talk, you interrupt.
Okay.
So, 13 to 15 episodes. First episode is the Battle of Ostagar.
What about the origin, though?
The origins will be expressed as they come up naturally throughout the other episodes.
Yeah, but here...
Like
so
little pieces of flashback.
They'd have to choose a canon warden.
No, you wouldn't.
Explain to me.
This is my thing. Okay, we have 4 wardens. That way. Okay, one of the problems with Origins is that the country, because you constantly got the Darkspawn attacking, you got the Civil War, you've got these people wandering around from place to place, never being caught, and basically it means that Loghain's an idiot. The Darkspawn are a bunch of shit because they refuse. They're not attacking anything. They're not destroying the world while you're off going from place to place.
They don't have the best tactics because that's actually discussed in the book The Last Flight. That basically the Darkspawn don't really adapt to tactics, and that's how, like, when they do, like, that's someone like the Architect, and that's when you freak the fuck out.
Yeah, but plus you got the guys going around and doing, going to see the dwarves, going to see the elves, and it takes. If Ferelden isn't like the size of a postage stamp, then this should take months and months and months.
Yes, but it doesn't take you that long to walk from Redcliffe and the Hinterlands to, like, the whole entire other end, where, like, that's down where Lothering would be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a small. It's there in the game. It works fine in the game because you've got your party and you're going from place to place. However, in a TV show or
you're riding on Shale's back.
You would
He's running at Mach 5. Hello.
So as a TV show, what you have to do is what you really should do. Plus, you have your big, huge party. What you should do is split the group up.
Okay.
You go off and you do the dwarves, you do the elves, you do the mages, you do Redcliffe. You do these all separately. You have 4 different wardens who survive. They each have the canon origins. Mm-hmm. And
which 4 would you pick?
Noble human, you've got Dalish, you've got dwarf noble, and you've got a mage one. Mage one is a city elf. Therefore, you can get the city elf origin parts as well.
I see. So that they were drug out of the alienage by the Templars.
Yes.
And dwarf rogue you just don't need.
Dwarf commoner and
Dwarf commoner.
Yeah, dwarf commoner. No, because the noble one you get that drama with Balin when they go back.
That's true.
So it's a better choice.
And you already find out about the caste system anyway through the Orzammar levels. Okay, all right.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So far, I approve.
Okay, so I suggest that the dwarf one. Okay, you pick up all of the canon sort of companions. You pick them all up, and then when you split up, I haven't worked out who's going with who because that would be insane. But the dwarf noble goes possibly with Morrigan, and on the way they will pick up another companion. They pick up Oghren in Orzammar. Right. You get 2 episodes in Orzammar, one for the politics, one for the deep roads.
Okay.
And because you've only got smaller...
So we're talking like hour-long episodes? Like
basically, yeah.
Okay.
And because you've got these smaller groups, you don't actually need a well-balanced party because it's not a game. What you need...
That's true. You just need people who bounce off each other well and script-wise.
Yeah, drama-wise. Yeah. So it's okay that you've got like the dwarf noble who's going to be a warrior. You've got Oghren, and you say you've got Morrigan. You don't have a rogue. It doesn't actually matter, because in narrative sense.
Yeah.
So what you have then?
Who will pick the locks?
But here's my thing: the idea of having 3, even having 4 people wandering around through the deep roads and killing absolutely everything, it works fine in a game, but in a film or TV show, that's ridiculous.
Well, the thing is that the deep roads are getting pretty empty now because all the Darkspawn have gone up to the surface.
Not just there, though.
That's why the Legion of the Dead was able to get as far as, I can't pronounce it, the City of the Dead.
Yeah.
Babanmanya or something.
It's still ridiculous, but it works fine in a game. because you're killing all the things. In a TV show, it's just over the top. You know, like in The Hobbit, where you had the dwarves managing to kill thousands of goblins.
Well, no, because that's why I think someone even says, we've been seeing a lot less darkspawn activity.
Yeah, there's less, but you still managed to kill a lot.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't. Okay, most of the scenes would be battle scenes.
Yeah, but it's not just there though. It's in all of them. This problem is in all of them. You're going around, you're killing 40 odd werewolves and stuff. So my suggestion is, in each of these sort of split offs, you get local people who help you out. In Orzammar, you pick up, apart from Ogren, you pick up some guys who are in the same house as Ogren, who were friends with. You pick up the Legion of the Dead.
I don't know, because he was he was a member of
House Branca?
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of guys who didn't go down into the thing with them or got back.
No, I like better at picking up the Legion of the Dead.
Oh, you could do both. Mm-hmm. You pick up the Legion of the Dead, so then you have a group of 10 to 20 guys who are going in there. It's more believable, and plus you get people who can die.
Fair enough.
And then in the Dalish one, you give 1 episode. Redcliffe, you give 1 episode. Mage Tower, you give 1 episode. You skip the Fade thing. Possibly skip the Slumber Demon entirely.
Yeah. Skip the Fade.
Yes. In each of them, you pick up people. Like Mage Tower, group of Templars with you. Dalish, group of Dalish warriors helping you kill the werewolves. Then, those 3 ones, the Mage and the Redcliffe stuff. Redcliffe, you get a bunch of soldiers from Redcliffe who help you out. So you get all of them together, and then while the second part of Orzammar is going on, mm-hmm. they get together and they do the Temple of Sacred Ashes. Okay. And along the road, you pick up Shale, you pick up Zephyr and all, and possibly some people die, and Dog belongs to the human noble. And while they're having discussions and battles, you get flashbacks to their origins, showing how Duncan picked them up. And even if you remember in the origins in the game,
who would play Duncan?
Don't know, but
his voiceover actor.
But Duncan was, if you remember the
They
origins.
said he was from High Ever, but wasn't he Ravani?
Originally, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But if you remember the flashbacks, if you remember the original origins, Duncan sometimes was with other wardens.
Yeah.
So what you could do is but looking at the flashbacks.
But they were the ones that died at Ostagar.
Yeah, but in the context of this, they could be the other ones from the party who were picked up. Mm-hmm. If you look at the flashbacks, you could work out which one was picked up first, because Duncan's by himself for one, then he's got with 2 for another one, he's with 3 for another one.
Yeah.
You could see in what order he picked them up.
I can see that, yeah.
Then you've got the stuff in Denerim, do a couple episodes in Denerim, and then do the final episode with the big battle and stuff.
Okay.
And
well, the Landsmeet would have to be.
Yeah, Landsmeet, How, Alienage stuff. You do that in a couple of episodes, and you got to have the flashbacks to the noble humans, because they get to kill How and stuff like that.
Have to get prop Tim Curry up and stuff, get him to play it Renton How.
And then after that, you could do 6 episode things based on Awakening. You could even do Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2 does not need a full.
Yes, it does. Hawk all the time.
It needs 5 or 6 episodes.
Sweet lesbian romance with my pirate queen. That's how that's gonna happen.
Inquisition would need the same size as Origins, but
I don't know. Inquisition is too MMOE though.
Yeah, it would need even more alterations. Yeah. But Inquisition, sorry, not Inquisition.
Not to interrupt, what's today's date?
It's the 18th.
Success.
But I completely lost it. What inspired this whole idea was coming to the realization that Dragon Age Origins is basically a much simplified version of Game of Thrones.
Except there's only 2 people who want the throne, and they just kind of bang against each other for a while.
Yeah,
it should be me. No, it should be me. The Darkspawn are coming.
King dies at the start during, on the cusp of a great war, against these, horrible creatures that come back every so often. Oh no, civil wars and strife trying to work out who's going to run the country while they're ignoring the giant monsters that are coming in. There's a couple of people who are dedicated to destroying the monsters who no one really takes seriously, who are actually trying to destroy them. It is Game of Thrones, but very simplified.
Who are the Qunari in Game of Thrones?
It'll be one of the countries from another planet. It doesn't line up perfectly.
Game of Thrones has made it abundantly clear, though, that it's not a bunch of monsters. It's undead led by a necromancer, and clearly people who got shanked thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago kind of doesn't work with demons.
Yeah, the Darkspawn aren't demons though.
They're corrupted. No, they're corrupted
dimension,
flesh.
Another plane of existence.
They're corrupted, but what I'm saying is that it's basically the same idea.
Who would be Tevinter in Game of Thrones?
I have no idea.
You're from Tevinter, right? Sure. But no, I
So,
guess I could see
have you
that.
got anything that you violently want to oppose me on these ideas?
Not really. Not really.
And the only one who gets really shafted in that is the dwarf commoner. I suppose you could
Yeah.
meet
Duster.
in the Carta part. You can meet up with see his corpse or something.
Yeah. Well, do you know what I realized? Because I played through the Commoner origin yesterday. Is that Lesky, the guy that you're with, your friend? Well, okay, you're.
Maybe he's in the
Yeah.
jail.
That's Varric's voice actor.
Is
Because
it?
I was like, I know that. Oh, that's Varric. I know that's Varric. And I looked it up and I was right.
So happy to kill him.
No, would you stop that? Varric is awesome. Everyone knows this except you.
La. The only there's a couple of like dramatic issues, like the Dalish section. Obviously, you send the Dalish there because they are connected. Then it's a different clan of Dalish, but they're less likely to get shot at for being a Shamlin. But there's much less drama there. There's going to be sort of like bring a bunch of Dalish, go in there, kill werewolves. Oh look, talking, make Tim Russ feel bad. End. So you really have to beef that up.
Yeah, that wasn't. Basically, that was just a long dungeon.
Yeah.
That whole thing. I was like, meh, the Dalish, whatever. The only part I really liked about that was at one point, my warden had, even though he was a dwarf, had coercion 5, like expert level coercion, and this like little Dalish guy's moping around like, no, my life sucks, and he's like, what's wrong, man? And he's like, I don't know why, I feel compelled to tell you this as an outsider. Here's my romantic problems. Like, you feel compelled because of my coercion 5.
The one of the other elements I can see working out difficult to adapt would be if you got a dwarf noble, you got to choose between Balin and Harriman, and you got to try and make it so that there's actually some drama between picking which one will he pick, because Balin's his younger brother, but he's complete cunt who tried to have him executed and killed his brother. So that was difficult to get to explain that. We would have to sort of push the. If you kill me, then your nephews will not be like kings and stuff, and it'll be like they'll be the royal ones, and your family will be destroyed. On the other hand, the only other thing you can do is like, well, Balin wants to connect. You have to try and make it a real sort of which one should he choose when it's really difficult to do that because it's pretty obvious.
Text now and have your vote.
Yeah, it's it's not perfect, but you could sort of put this together.
Very good, dear. Very good.
Thank you.
Everyone give her a round of applause. Pause the player, and then clap for her.
Okay, and I think I've run out of interesting things to say on that matter.
Are you sure? Nothing
Possibly.
else you need to say?
We're going to discuss the War Doctor, though.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just heard the other day that John Hurt's been diagnosed with early stage pancreatic cancer. But apparently they'll be able to treat it, is what I heard.
No, that's good.
I mean, at least that's what they say.
I mean, Ian McKellen, he's had like prostate cancer for like 8 years.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll just do something magical and hold it at bay.
Yeah, but he's a wizard.
Good point, good point.
They got magic and shit.
So,
He's not a
breaking
wizard, he's a mutant, so pick one.
breaking news, because we're actually recording this on Thursday. The Charleston shooting suspect has been caught in North Carolina.
Oh, good.
That kid gonna get the death penalty.
But for the War Doctor, this is... Omega and I discussed this whenever we went out for a meal, like last week, before we went to see San Andreas, and she was like, you should talk about this on Lesbian Talk, because it's apparently interesting, but this is me on the War Doctor.
Oh, batten down the hatches, y'all.
Short version, I don't recognize his existence. Longer version, the War Doctor did not exist whenever whenever we were watching the show. The War Doctor came into existence when In the Name of the Doctor happened. Basically, when the Great Intelligence went back into the time stream, and then Clara followed, and all that random shit that Stephen Moffat didn't explain, or
Yeah, like,
anything.
is the Great Intelligence still there?
Who knows?
No, I was thinking about that the other day.
But after all that shit happened,
Depends on its greatness.
Yeah, pretty much.
after all that shit, then timeline was changed. The Eighth Doctor was convinced somehow not to take part in the Time War, and so therefore this divergent timeline with the War Doctor was created. And here's my evidence for
So
that.
then that means that the Eighth Doctor regenerated directly into
Eccleston.
Eccleston, and it was the Eighth Doctor who used the moment.
Yes, in the original timeline,
Okay.
yes. The reason that... okay, here's my evidence for this. Every single time in New Who, whenever we saw evidence of the previous Doctors, whether it came from the Doctor himself or from other people, whether they were reading his DNA and seeing a bunch of different, genetic codes or whatever, or, the Daleks and the Cybermen had evidence of, pictures of all the Doctors and everything. Or even when the Doctor was going crazy and he was like inside the psyche of another person and they were drawing pictures of the previous Doctors, they never did the War Doctor. Why? He didn't exist. And previous...
The God Moffat had not spoken yet.
And then in and the 11th Doctor was shot in one episode, and possibly just my interpretation, but he was regenerating at the end, then he was shot again while regenerating, and that killed him. He would not regenerate if he was on his final incarnation. Apart from that, you've got the season 6 of New Who. You had The Girl Who Waited, which demonstrated that whenever Moffat feels like it, they can change already prior established history of characters. This is the exact same trick he used again in the 50th anniversary.
The thing is that if you're dealing with time travel, you do kind of have carte blanche to do stuff like that.
Well, yeah, every different eras of Doctor Who have dealt with it in different ways. But Moffat already established that he's fine with that.
Oh, okay. Well,
Plus, by the time he began writing the 50th anniversary, the War Doctor didn't exist. He wanted to get Eccleston to play that part.
oh yeah, that's right. I remember you telling me that.
He wanted to get Eccleston to play that part. Eccleston didn't come back, so therefore he created the War Doctor, because in his words, he didn't see the 8th Doctor doing that. Even though in the audios, the 8th Doctor has destroyed Gallifrey. Just fucking insane. So, I put it to you that in a beautiful mirroring of Stephen Moffat's ridiculous idea of creating the War Doctor, when the Great Intelligence went back in time, it had created, and Clara went back and saved him, that it changed the Doctor's past and created the War Doctor.
Like, how did she save him, though? That was never, clarified. Get it? Clarified. It's just, she was kind of like, they were together, and then she's like, who's that guy? He's like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, because they even established that, the Great Intelligence goes back, and all he's doing occasionally
Yeah,
is...
like, what's that? The star's going out. What do you mean? That's lives that the Doctor saved and now are being undone.
Yeah,
what about those people?
Like, all he was doing... You saw the one where he was trying to kill John Pertwee. He was just like, John Pertwee was driving past, and the Great Intelligence was badly animated into it, going like, I'm looking at you, John Pertwee, with malice, and that's
You can't hurt
horrible.
John Pertwee.
And then Clara comes back and apparently saves him from the horrific thing of having the Great Intelligence look at him. And apparently she saves him, even though she said in the same episode that all she ever did was try to save the Doctor, but he never listened to her, never saw her. Mm-hmm. So apparently she did a lot of shit that he never actually noticed.
Yeah, but in her interactions with quote-unquote the first Doctor, her being like, steal this TARDIS. He's like, sure I will, random person. Random Gallifreyan citizen.
So bringing that up, that could be a problem with my theory, because that would indicate that Clara has actually, that Clara's effects on the timeline were always there because she got him to pick the...
So it's one of those...
So predestination paradox.
Yeah.
But we're going to ignore that because I'm being disingenuous.
You heard it here live, folks.
But yeah, definitely put it to you, War Doctor did not exist until thing happened. And it's not just because I want to go on and just be all like, it doesn't fucking count, you fucking invented that fucking little fucking thing for the fucking...
It's all retconned anyway, because
insult.
the moment never happened. So, there you go.
No, I did. They pressed the button and they just, instead of blowing shit up, it put them into another dimension. Or possibly trapped them in another moment of time where, Moffat can't keep it straight from episode to episode. For a man so obsessed with fucking continuity and making things make no sense...
No, Gallifrey is like in a pocket dimension of time.
Yeah, but if you look at the Time of the Doctor and the other Doctor, they contradict each other about where exactly it is.
Oh, yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
Moffat can't keep it straight from episode to episode.
That was a really nice thing though, where it was like all 13 of them working together through the miracle of stock footage.
You know what? That would have worked better.
What?
It's just an idea. I suspect everyone would argue with me about this. The shot where they're showing all the TARDISes around it, they should have panned out further and show hundreds of TARDISes.
Oh.
That it's all the future ones as well.
Don't worry, every English actor ever said.
Well, you wouldn't see the other Doctors, but it's be all like, the show's going to go on and on and on and on and on. And although I would love to see an episode where the Doctor points out that, you know how he came across his grave and he was all like, oh no, I found my grave. And the 6th Doctor did this as well.
Yeah, well no, the 6th Doctor was like, well, it's my grave. And Perry's like, oh shit, really? He's like, yes, it means that eventually I will die. And this is where I'll be buried. Oh, well.
Yeah, that's good though, because the Doctor logically he knows he has to die, because if he doesn't die, because he has time travel,
Yeah.
there's gonna and everyone in the universe is not him, so at some point he must die.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you never die, and if you can go anywhere, you will eventually fill up every single space and time in history.
I don't really understand how that's possible.
Well, because you're never ending. So you're ending. So you're constantly going to different periods of time forever, which means and
Yeah,
you're
but
never
you can't
dying.
become people that
You're not becoming
have
people.
been.
You are, but you are being everywhere. You're basically taking. You're not replacing people, but what you're doing is that. You know how eventually, if you have time travel and you live long enough, you'll run into yourself.
Yeah, I guess.
You'll do that a lot. But eventually you'll get into a point where where if you don't die, eventually you would have to reach a point where you are pretty much filling up every single room with yourself, because you are never dying.
But not at the same point in time.
Yeah, but you would, because you are you never die.
Oh, I wouldn't do that.
Well, yeah, you would have to do that
No, I
because you never finish.
No, because I'd write a computer program that would tell me not to do that.
But you would.
I think you're wrong.
You would eventually have.
I think you heard a theory somewhere and you have an inaccurate grasp of quantum mechanics.
This isn't quantum mechanics. This
Sounds
is
like quantum
if you
mechanics.
if you don't die, you're constantly going to have to go somewhere and be somewhere. You're going to have to be going somewhere.
You could be
somewhere.
in your ship, just doing your thing.
Yeah, but you're going to leave your ship at some point, which means you are now at that point at that time. However, you keep going long enough, you will be at that point
No,
at that
because
time again.
time is infinite. You don't have to go back to that point.
Time's not infinite.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Well, okay, it's close enough.
It started like 13.6 billion
Yeah, but
years
it's
ago.
like-
13.6.
and we've got
whatever.
a few billion to go. So, like, for the human mind to comprehend, that's close enough.
It would take a long time, and he would have to live for quadrillions of zillions of ridiculously made up
but
numbers of years.
but
it would happen.
I disagree with you.
This time machine will fall apart.
Yeah.
Okay, either the TARDIS falls apart or the Doctor dies at some
If you're a
point.
quantum
Like
physicist, right,
the device necessary for traveling time, unless you inherently can travel through time yourself, and you're some sort of infinite super god, then there's no real possibility. The machine itself, eventually, some commodity which is used for the traveling of time, which, if we go by, actual physics, is an insane amount of energy.
Well, it already happens in Doctor Who, so we have to hand wave that away.
Yeah, okay.
No, because he's got like a little black
the TARDIS
hole.
eventually has to fall apart.
Either the TARDIS falls apart or he dies.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it would be the way that you say.
TARDISes, they're living creatures, so it's possible. There's other possibilities.
It's biomechanical. It has parts.
Yeah, because parts are always breaking.
Okay, well, yeah, the TARDIS.
We've run out of dilithium crystals.
Like the big thing that does the fucking harmonica thing. Not harmonica. What do you call it?
Time rotor.
Accordion. Yeah, the big
I don't know if you can hear
inflating
this.
set of bellows.
I don't know how well you can hear this, but Neil has just declared, worked out the explanation for my conundrum, and it's a good explanation that the TARDIS will eventually break down.
But anyway, so Moffat is wrong.
But you can also grow a TARDIS from a piece of a TARDIS that's still alive. So the Doctor, it would take about
in
takes about
theory,
500
You
years.
should just make another time machine.
So we've got the same problem, unless the TARDIS is actually
You
obliterated.
could go to the TARDIS farm and pick a ripe one.
But yeah, the fact that he's not constantly running into himself, like thousands
Because
of times.
probably he's smart enough to realize, gee, wait a second, I better
Also,
watch
don't
it.
divergent timelines prevent that?
Yeah.
Doctor Who time.
Oh, correction. We're going with Doctor Who universe.
Yeah, this is Doctor Who.
Well, that's why none of this matters. Because it's a television show.
At the end, he'll just be like,
They
I'll
can
just rewrite
change
canon.
reality as they should so wish. And
Yeah.
10 years down the line, divergent timelines will be a thing.
Yeah, Doctor
And
Who
the rest
does
of your
that.
show won't be canon.
Yeah, but basically, because the Doctor doesn't run into himself all the fucking time, he's going to assume that he will die at some point.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, we're coming up to the end of our listening hour.
Argument.
No, I just think that you're wrong. I think that you heard something somewhere and decided to apply that, and that doesn't sound like any kind of scientific thing.
Well, possibly I'm explaining it not very well, but you have to do. You have an announcement.
We do have an announcement, and we have a special guest with us who'd like to take the stage. And Giovanni, are you with us today?
I'm here, but it's mainly under duress. See, here's the thing. I used to do a trivia fact of the show, and everyone was like, oh, it's a great trivia fact. I'm so glad you're telling us things that we could look up on Google or use to win a pub quiz. But then I thought, let's make it sparkle. Let's give it some kick, yeah? Let's have a trivia question, and people could write in and say, I know what the answer is. I minimizing Google. I totally didn't look it up just now, and I'd be like, "Oh, you're awesome, you're a star." And only 5 people cared, and about a third of them were Germans. So we're gonna go back to Giovanni's trivia fact because I'm tired of keeping track of it when no one cares. Thank you.
You should see the look in Neil's face. He's like, holy shit, that lobster can talk.
Well, he's looking at his phone, so probably thinking something interesting.
And talk in a way that's sounds a little bit like Omega. It's confusing.
I'm not allowed to make a comment about what I just read, so never mind.
Well, there you go.
Because you're broadcasting this to the internet, and they want them to know. Not my deepest, darkest secrets. Which it already knows. Google has your search history.
Oh dear.
So anyway, that has been us for episode 83 this week. I have been the Omega, and honey, who
I
do you
thought it was
have?
87.
87.
80 something.
Something like 80. I have been the Omega, and who do you want to have been to this week?
The 17 quadrillionth Doctor.
All right.
I have another way to explain my point on this. Imagine
But
you've
the
got.
show's over.
I know. Imagine you've got a big piece of fabric, okay, and you got needle and thread.
Uh-huh.
Put the needle and thread you go around, and you put it in through one piece, okay. You got that point there. You put it through, okay.
Cross stitching's an example.
Yeah, cross stitching. Okay, you've got this. The piece of thread is infinite. However, the piece of fabric is not.
Mm.
So you're constantly cross stitching into different pieces. Eventually, the cross stitches, even if you try to keep them apart, they will meet.
Yeah, but it doesn't like
That's
one
all my
person
point.
is not. It's more complicated than that.
But with the way Doctor Who has it, all events that ever happened in Doctor Who happened. Even when they time paradox to prevent them from happening, technically they happened, apparently.
Yeah. So that was the epilogue. Bye bye.
It was not the epilogue.
Which I think is a really silly view on time, but allows them to say their episodes aren't decanonized. But I think it would be better if they were decanonizing and recanonizing themselves all the time.
You
You'd allow you
can't.
to write whatever the fuck you want. You wouldn't be limited by what happened previously in the show because you could completely rewrite everything.
True this.
You can't rewrite. Oh, let me quote William Hartnell at you then. You can't rewrite history. Not one line.
Except
Oh.
that's all we ever do.
Except when you've got a time fucking machine, you can.